Okay guys, how's it going? Another quick video do for you. I got some compost here from a person I work with because my compost isn't ready yet. So we're gonna make some compost tea. I have a 5-gallon bucket, which these are going to be used for the deep water culture systems from Walmart. They were $2.60 a piece, real cheap. I filled it up little ways with water. Now my water has chlorine in it, so I need to dechlorinate it. How I'm going to do that is with this air pump. Make sure I get that on camera. It has 2 outlets, which I'm going to be using for the 2 5-gallon systems that I'm going to be making. I just grabbed a couple of cheap bubblers from Walmart. Those are about $2 a piece, and then 8 feet of airline tubing. When I do the actual deep water system, I'm not going to use these. I'm going to get like some decent ones. These are just going to be used for dechlorinating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this guy in. And the first step, already on. Let's see here. Nope, it's always on. So the first step is going to be, like I said, getting rid of the chlorine that's in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up 2 of the air stones in the water and just turn it on and let it go for a couple of hours. That'll help get rid of the chlorine. This 8-foot tubing I'm just going to cut directly in half right here. Hopefully as straight as possible. Yeah, there we go. So we'll attach that here. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. And attach the other one here. Because I'm just dechlorinating the water for a couple hours, I'm going to use both of them in the one bucket. And then when I make the compost tea, I'll do the same thing. So let's get these open real quick. Like I said, these were just cheap ones from Walmart, nothing incredibly special. They just need to make bubbles so we can get rid of the chlorine in my tap water. Alright, so we got both the both of them hooked up there. You can see that. And we're just going to put them in here. And we'll plug this guy in. Make sure these are kind of on either side. Crank it up, we'll get a lot of bubbles in there. And let me see if I can get the camera over here without giving you guys sickness. You can see that the bubbles are now in there and they're going away. These actually aren't too bad. They make a decent amount of bubbles for, I mean there's 2 of them in there. I'm going to let this go for a couple of hours so that the chlorine gets out of there, and then we'll use the compost like I showed you right here, right there. To make the compost tea. And I'm going to make a little project with this coffee tin once I empty it out as well. So let this run for a couple hours and I'll be back to start the compost tea. Okay guys, so the bubblers have been going inside of the water, dechlorinating for long enough. What I'm going to do now is, I didn't really plan it correctly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a bunch of this water for getting some lettuce seeds going because it's dechlorinated now. So I'm actually going to take a big huge scoop out. I'm just going to save that off to the side. What I'm going to do is get the compost tea made for the Kratky systems that I'm going to be making. I did a video on this guy right here. This will house some of the compost tea. And then I'm going to do the same thing using this to make a system out of it. So what I need to do is I need to get this brewing, and it takes a while for this to get going. What you need is your compost, which is my compost, as well as some unsulfured, let's see here, unsulfured molasses. This is, use a couple tablespoons of this inside the bucket as food for like the bacteria and whatnot. And it's getting all over me. It smells horrible. I'm not a big molasses fan. Ugh, it's gross. So what I'm going to use is I stole my wife's stockings. I'm going to end up using some of this for the compost. Put it in there, tie off the ends, and then just put it in the water and let it brew, kind of like a tea bag. You can use this, or you can use a paint strainer. I couldn't find any at the store I was at when I went, so hopefully she doesn't get mad at me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off one of the legs. You just need something that has, it's like a fine material that water can pass through to prevent any issues, because this is a used one. I'm going to tie off the toe, because usually the toe is where you get all your holes in them. I'm going to put a big chunk of compost in here, tie off the top, and then just dangle it in the bucket. So let me get this filled up with some compost. We'll get in the bucket and we'll get that going. Okay, so I got a decent amount in here. I might make 2 of these socks. I'm going to tie off the top here. This is just going to sit in there like a tea bag, and it's going to kind of seep into the water. Now, the reason I changed up my idea about what I was going to do is because once the compost tea is made and it's ready to go, you want to use it as soon as possible. So when I do my 5-gallon deep water systems, I'm going to set up the 2 buckets, brew the tea in them, and then immediately put the plants in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down into the water. I'm going to tie it right here just so it doesn't fall in, because I kind of want it, to be a little suspended. There you go. Get this out of the way. And I'm going to get the bubbles going in it before I put the molasses in. So again, I'm going to use the 2 air bubblers. I'm going to attempt to get them relatively close to like right underneath the sock, just so they have the most impact on it. As close as possible to it, so they're kind of bubbling that, and that'll do its thing. So one of them's pretty much right underneath it, so that'll do its thing there. Let me dry off my hand before I touch the plug to turn this on. I'll get electrocuted. Plug this in, and you can hear that going. That's full on. Now I'm going to take the unsulfured molasses. I'm just going to pour a little bit in there. I mean, you can use a couple of tablespoons, depending on how much water you're using. Oh, it smells so bad. That's good. I don't know what you use molasses for, but it smells horrendous. All right. Give it a little stir just to get the molasses off the bottom. The bubbles should do the rest. Let me see if I can get this off of here now. And you can see the molasses is what gave the majority of the color for this. And you can see the sock right there just hanging off the edge. So I'm going to let this brew overnight. And when I come back in the morning, you're going to see that this has like a nice froth on it from running all night. And hopefully my basement doesn't stink. So I'll be back in the morning to check on this, probably mid-afternoon. I might even let it go for an entire day before I take it out of here, or before I start to use it. So I'm going to let that run, and we'll be back once it's had time to process. All right, so it's been approximately, I want to say 3/4 of a day. I'm going to let this sit. This has been brewing for a little while. It's got another, like, half a day to go. But I'm going to end the video here because it's pointless to just keep going. Depending on the quality of the compost that you're using, you'll start to see this froth up a little bit. Once that's done and you let it run for approximately 24 hours, then you can use your compost tea. But pretty basic on how you get that going. Like I said, I'm gonna let this keep going for probably, I might even let it go for another 24 hours just to make sure that it's fully saturated. And you can tell it's a pretty brown liquid. A lot of that comes from the molasses, but then the compost as well. So what I'm going to end up doing with this is I'm going to end up using it in this, oh, hey Hoochie. I'm going to end up using it in this Kratky style guy right here that I made in another video. And then do the same thing with this guy, and then I'm going to use it for just like around the house. I've got some plants here started with soil. So when I go to make the 5-gallon deep water systems with these guys, then I'll brew fresh new setup. So when I make that system, then you'll see that I'm waiting for my pepper seeds to get here. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Very easy to make this compost tea if you have compost going. My dog is knocking everything over now. Check out my channel for some more of the indoor growing with Dave. And like always, good luck and have fun.